Hello, my friends, and thank you for joining me today. Summer is almost over. We are doing our best to embrace the beauty of our flowers that we planted this year. It's been such a treat to watch them grow and flourish. It's a little sad, it's bittersweet that we are kissing goodbye gardening season, but we are also excited for the beauty and the coziness that autumn brings. So we are doing our best to appreciate summer, and unfortunately we've been having a lot of fires and smoke, and so we've been pretty much indoors for the past couple of weeks here. So it feels as if our autumn has already begun because we've been isolated indoors as opposed to going out and enjoying playtime in the sun. So with that means lots of baking. We've decided to make granola a staple around here. My kids enjoy eating it as a snack, or they enjoy topping off their yogurt with the granola, and the beauty of it is that we can control what we're putting into the granola if we make it ourselves. And so it's also been a fun project for the kids because we're experimenting with different flavors and combinations. I mentioned before in one of my videos how I really love where we live because we're surrounded by nature, and this is a great example of one of the reasons why I love where we are. We get to see wildlife up close, and having grown up in the suburbs of Los Angeles, this is something that I never was able to experience. So living out here in the Pacific Northwest and having wildlife at our fingertips, it's been so enjoyable and such a treat for our children to be able to see God's creation right in front of them. I'm sharing with you guys some deep cleaning that I had to do in my spice drawer. I like to keep my spices in these little tin boxes that I got from Amazon. I'll link them for you if that's something that you're interested in. I order my spices in bulk through Thrive Market, and they come in these little plastic baggies. So I just empty the contents into these little tins and I label them myself. And it's been a great way to keep inventory. Everything is pretty streamlined because they're all in these tin containers, and I can see what spices I need to refill and which spices I have enough of, and I can always switch out the labels depending on whether or not I trade out a spice for a different spice, or if I need to introduce a new spice to our collection. So I just like the look of it, and honestly, I try to keep things as minimal as possible. So as you can see here, I'm trying to clear out the drawer because if you have a spice drawer, I'm sure you deal with something very similar where sometimes the spices kind of come out, especially because we have them in these tin containers instead of a screw-on lid. It's easy for the spices to kind of splatter if you're pushing down on the lid or when you open up the lid. So now I'm just putting in some organizers. I found these clear organizers at, oh goodness, what is it called? Home Goods. I found them at Home Goods, and I have them throughout my kitchen. It helps keep everything in its place, and I like that they're just white and clear because, again, it eliminates some of that visual clutter. So I just arrange the spices in any old order because I'm constantly cooking with them. So I don't keep them in alphabetical order. I probably should, but because it's such a high traffic drawer, it's so easy for things to get rearranged, and so I don't go through the effort of organizing them alphabetically. like it when things match and coordinate. For some of the containers, I have doubles, and so you'll see here I kind of do a little bit more reorganization because I'll have 2 of the same spice, and what I like to do is just stack those up, and that way I can keep them together and know that I have extra right below that particular container of spice. It's not perfect. There are definitely things that I can probably adjust and change. For right now, it's a system that works pretty well for us. We don't have a large kitchen, so we have very limited storage options. So that's why I have to keep a spice drawer as opposed to a spice cabinet, and I double it up as my storage for my oven mitts. The oven mitts that you see there are KitchenAid, and I purchased them on Amazon. They're so fun, and honestly, gingham is one of my favorite prints, so I really enjoy utilizing those whenever I'm baking. It's just the little things, having pretty things to use throughout my days or when I'm doing my chores really helps to motivate me and keeps me positive when I'm powering through the mundane. Now, we picked up some flowers from Lowe's. These are called balloon flowers. I'd heard of them, but I never saw them at the nursery until now. And these have been such a beautiful blessing. They are very low maintenance flowers, and since planting them, I've hardly watered them. My sprinklers go off and they get some water from the sprinklers daily, but I haven't needed to go out and pour any sort of additional water. And look how bright and beautiful they look. They're so vibrant, and they have blossomed amazingly. I have about, I think, 2 or 3 of these in our garden space in the back, and all of them are thriving. I wish I'd known about them sooner. I would have put in many more flowers. Now that we're approaching fall, we're planning our trip to the apple orchard to go apple picking, and so I thought it would be fun to have my kids do an apple related activity. Those stickers, those dot stickers on Amazon are so affordable. I've been printing out some different pages of different shapes so my kids can have a constructive activity to do. Now, I'm giving you a look at some of our homeschool curriculum. We're a little behind because last week was the feast of St. Euphrosinos, and so these are activities I had planned for the feast day of St. Euphrosinos. I know we're past that now, but I thought it was still worth sharing with you. I did a quick Google search, and there are some blogs out there with some great Orthodox content. I'll link them below the video in case you're interested in printing out some of these materials that I found. This banner is from Draw Near Designs, and we started coloring it in so that I can eventually cut it out, laminate it, and put it up in our homeschool room. I also like to print out icons for the feasts in the church so that we can make it a part of our lessons and make it sort of the forefront of what we're learning that day. Like I said, this is an older video, but I thought it was worth sharing in case you're still coming up with ideas for homeschooling your little ones. My kids are all in preschool or below, and so some of this homeschool content that I'm working on is for them as they get a little bit older, and some of it is still applicable to them and worth doing at their ages. But I had ordered a huge mega bundle of homeschool materials years ago, and truthfully, if you do not have babies yet, or if you are pregnant, or maybe have an infant, honestly, now is the time to do your homeschool homework and try to figure out how you would like to homeschool your children and what curriculum you would like for your children. At first, it was so overwhelming for me going through the different methods of homeschooling and trying to pinpoint the type of homeschool curriculum that I felt was the best for my kids. Now that it's been 4 years since I had my first baby, I've just done so much research, and I've come to the conclusion I think I'm mostly an eclectic homeschool mom. I like different aspects of different schools of thought with regards to homeschooling. Because of that, I have been just collecting a plethora of material from different homeschooling websites. I like things that are very hands-on and visually beautiful, and so for me, that's one of the primary factors for whatever it is that I collect for a lesson plan. The way that I have arranged our homeschooling is by theme. So I'm trying to live liturgically with my family. For us, the most important thing to focus on are the feasts and the holy days of the church. I make a list for every month, and I keep track of when the major feasts occur as well as major saints' feasts. After I do that, we create lessons around those feasts and holy days. Because St. Euphrosinos was last week and it's also the beginning of fall, I decided to make our theme sort of like an apple theme. The story of Euphrosinos has an element of apples to it, and so I thought it would tie in really well with some of this apple curriculum that I had purchased years ago. I'm trying my best to plan ahead, so we have like a honeybee section that I'd like to cover with my children. I like to tie in orthodoxy in any way that I can. So for instance, if we're talking about honeybees, we'll also be talking about St. Paisios, for instance. He's known for the line of being like the bee and not like the fly. And so I have books on St. Paisios that we'll probably bring out and we'll read. This is one of my favorite recipes for my kids. They call them chicken nuggets. They're really just chicken patties, and they're so easy to put together. I'm all about making easy meals. There was a time in my life when I used to get really imaginative, and I loved experimenting with different ingredients and flavors, and I was big on Food Network and constantly watching all the professional chefs and becoming inspired by the meals that they would create. But I've reached a certain point in my life where that's not so feasible with 3 little ones, and so we try to keep our meals very simple but very nutritious, and that's why I love this recipe. It's for those days where I am just so overwhelmed with schoolwork and cleaning or whatnot, and all I need to do is throw a few staple ingredients from my pantry into a bowl and whip up something really delicious that I know my kids will eat. And that is key for me, is ensuring that my kids will actually eat what I serve them, because it's not always the case. So this is one of those meals that my kids really enjoy. All I do is I take cans of chicken, I drain them, and I put them in a bowl with some spices. In this case, I used paprika, dill, and onion powder. I added about 1/4 cup of cheese and 1/4 cup of flour. I'll post below the video the exact measurements for what I used. You can really play around with the flavors depending on what kind of spices that your kids like, as well as what's available to you. And if you have fresh herbs and spices, I think that would make this recipe even more delicious. But it's as simple as dumping everything into the bowl, mixing it up, and sticking it into the fridge to cool off and consolidate, because otherwise it's a little too tacky to work with. And so you're going to need to scoop out the mixture and create these little patties or little nuggets that you'll dunk into breadcrumbs. These are just some standard panko breadcrumbs. And I have some olive oil heating up here in my Dutch oven. And I am just frying these little patties on my Dutch oven, and they come together in about, 3 minutes or so. So it's a very quick recipe, and I think they come out really, really delicious. We use a variety of different dipping sauces, and I like that my kids think that they're chicken nuggets, because they're not, but they're a healthy version of chicken nuggets. And so as long as they're enjoying it and they're easy to make, it really is one of those foolproof meals that I don't mind making for my children, and it saves us a lot of money. You can make them as large or as small as you want. If you were to make them larger, you could probably make sort of like a chicken sandwich out of it. You could just, make it the size of a burger bun, and in lieu of having a burger, you could have a chicken patty inside of it. I think that would be really delicious. This is also one of those recipes where you can get your kids involved. My kids love to stir and to mix and help me cook in the kitchen. And so because everything just needs to be incorporated in a bowl, there's no real rhyme or rhythm to it. It's something that you can have your kids help you out with, and they can get involved. And every time my kids pitch in the kitchen, they get even more excited to eat whatever it is that we've made, because they feel like they had a part in that creation. These also reheat very well, so if you want to make a bunch ahead of time, you absolutely can. You just keep them in an airtight container in the fridge, and when you're ready to serve them, you can warm them up on a skillet. I like that these are so protein dense. Protein is something that we really take a lot of care to consume. It helps my children to have the nutrients that they need for their brain development when we consume a high amount of protein, and it also helps them to stay full for longer. As you can see here, they're starting to turn golden. When you flip them over, they should be a nice golden brown color. The meat is already cooked because it's canned chicken, so all you're really looking for is to ensure that the flour and the egg have been warmed through. So it looks like our chicken patties have been thoroughly cooked here. So I'm just gonna put them on our plate here on the side. And I've mentioned it before, but something that I like to do seasonally is swap out our dishes. And so I love these Johnson Brothers Ironstone dishes that I got off the Facebook Marketplace. I have different sets of dishes and I like to pull them out for different seasons depending on what colors they are. It just helps to make things a little fun and to change things up. Once again, thank you so much for stopping by, friends. I hope you found this video to be encouraging and inspiring. Maybe you got some ideas as to how to homeschool or prepare a quick meal for your families. My goal is to continue encouraging you in any way that I can. Motherhood is a blessing, and days can get tough and difficult. Hopefully this video gave you some ideas to help make your life a little bit easier. Take care and have a blessed week.